we come. We came to our last session, and we choose that something very special must be the final chord of our conference, and of course, it's Chopin's music. By the way, we had some presentations about Chopin during our conference. So Chopin is, how to say, leitmotif of our congress this year. So I want to present our last keynote speaker from Poland, dear Professor Sylwia Makomaska, Institute of Musicology, University of Warsaw, Poland. She is author of numerous scientific brilliant research papers, studies, an active participant in international conferences, and organizer of high-level academic conferences. So her research interests are focused on the psychology of music in the broader sense, particularly taking into account psychoacoustics, cognitive and social psychology of music, as well as interdisciplinary topics concerning the role of music in social communication. So now we can start your brilliant presentation.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and I would like to thank the organizing committee for the invitation. It's a great honor to participate in this conference as a keynote speaker. And as it was mentioned by Gwanza, I'm a musicologist, and I'm mainly interested in the psychology of music and the role of music in marketing and social communication. When Gwanza asked me to prepare a keynote speech for this conference, my first thought was Frédéric Chopin, who is, of course, one of the most famous Polish composers. And my decision was also influenced by the fact that last month in Poland were dominated by the 19th edition of the Frédéric Chopin International Piano Competition, which has been held regularly in Warsaw every 5 years since 1927. During this year's edition, Chopin gathered music lovers from all over the world on site and in the virtual world. All concerts took place at the National Philharmonic Hall in Warsaw, and they were broadcast live via YouTube channel, TikTok television channel, and also via the Polish radio. As the organizers summarized, during the 15 days of auditions, the jury and the audience could listen to 102 hours of Chopin's music performed by 84 young pianists from 19 countries. The competition was present on social media, on the Chopin's Institute Facebook profile in 5 languages, Chinese Weibo, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So for sure, this edition was a huge international event celebrating Chopin and his music. At the same time, it provokes the discussion on the presence of Chopin and his music in marketing. So I would like to analyze, let's say, another phase of Chopin and his music that is used as a marketing tool in selected contemporary campaigns of Polish brands. And I hope you will find this lecture interesting and inspiring. In modern society, music penetrates most of our everyday activities. It appears in restaurants, clubs, at workplaces, in shops, at homes, in cars, on buses, trains, in TV commercials, and so on. The present-day ubiquity of music wouldn't be possible without the rapid development in the field of sound recording and reproduction techniques in the 20th and 21st centuries. Technological progress contributed to the consolidation of new sound culture characterized by acousmatic listening of sounds detached from their original source and context. On the one hand, music constitutes a vital element of the human individually shaped acoustic environment, and on the other hand, it appears in a widely understood public space, often as an acoustic wallpaper imposed on a listener. In the second case, music usually functions on the periphery of the listener's attention, and because of this specific way of perception, it can become a very effective tool of hidden persuasion or even manipulation within the strategy that can be termed acoustic engineering. I defined it as a strategy that involves designing, construction, and modification of the acoustic space of a given place by means of programmed music with the use of scientific and technical knowledge. Its purpose is to modify or change the recipient's responses and behavior in a way consistent with the values and interests of the sender. In such an approach, music is embedded in the framework of the social communication model, which assumes that the final result of the communication process is to control the recipient's responses and behavior, usually without their knowledge. One of the most interesting exemplifications of this practice is the use of classical music in different forms of contemporary marketing strategies, such as sonic branding and audio marketing. Both strategies can be seen as a consequence of the development of the modern marketing approach that appeared in the second half of the 20th century. At that time, the saturation of the market with the mass-produced products led to change in the orientation of companies, which began to focus not only on the production process, but also on customers and their needs. There were attempts, both in theory and practice, to identify those aspects that should be taken into account in the process of planning an effective marketing strategy. In 1960, the American expert Jerome McCarthy proposed probably the best-known formula of marketing mix called 4P, according to which marketing should be treated as a system of closely related instruments, such as product, price, place, and promotion. This concept assumes that it is not enough to produce a product at a good price, but it should be available at the right time and place with the use of properly selected promotional tools. With time, more and more importance began to be attached to mechanisms which build the so-called brand experience and affect the consumer through the emotional sphere. Already in 1970s, one of the most eminent theoreticians of marketing, Philip Kotler, stressed the fact that the place of purchase is one of the most important elements of the product. He believed that a store and its atmosphere can have a bigger impact on the consumer's decisions than the product itself. Kotler introduces the term atmospherics to describe, quote, the conscious designing of space to create certain effects in buyers, the end of quote. More and more efforts were made either on the ground of theory of marketing or within consumer behavior research to explore and develop the concept of atmospherics and to implement it in practice. In searching for the new ways to influence the consumers, not only by means of the sense of sight reserved by traditional advertising, the role of other senses such as smell, taste, touch, and hearing began to be appreciated. In 1992, the American marketing researcher Mary Jo Bittner outlined the theoretical framework for the discussion started by Kotler. She claimed that so-called servicescape should be treated as a mixture of properties defined as environmental dimensions, which influence both internal consumers and employees' reactions on cognitive, emotional, and physiological levels and their behavior. As you can see, music appears in the group of the environmental dimensions as one of the ambient conditions, together with such elements as temperature, air quality, or odor. The next group within the environmental factors, called space and its functionality, includes inter alia equipment arrangements, furnishings, shape and size of these elements, and spatial relations between them. Signs and symbols, which according to Bittner communicate about a particular place, are divided into two categories. The explicit communicators, like signs placed at entrances and indoors, for example, the name of the company or department, and implicit symbolic communicators, like the quality of the materials used, floor coverings, certificates, and photographs placed on the walls. This model shows that consumers react to the environment as a whole. There is no doubt that an individual perceives discrete stimuli, but only the whole configuration of stimuli determines the responses to the environment. In this configuration, all elements, including music, constitute an integral part of the holistic service experience and have an impact on the consumer's decisions. As shown in the figure, the perceived servicescape may elicit cognitive responses influencing people's beliefs about a given place and their beliefs about the people and products found in that place. In that sense, the commercial environment can be viewed as a form of nonverbal communication, imparting meanings through particular environmental elements. The presented framework is anchored in the research tradition of environmental psychology. It suggests that individuals react to places with two general and opposite forms of behavior: approach and avoidance. Approach behavior include all positive forms of behavior, such as, for example, desire to stay, explore and affiliate, joy of shopping, returning, spending money, loyalty. Avoidance behavior reflects the opposite, in other words, a desire not to stay, explore and affiliate. For many years, researchers representing different disciplines and working either on scientific or business reasons have been trying to determine the links between music and consumer behavior. So music is treated as a marketing tool in marketing communications, especially in such strategies as sonic branding and or audio marketing. Both terms reveal a slightly different aspects of the use of music in marketing activities, but they certainly complement each other, hence the arrow connecting the two categories on the slide. The first term, sonic branding, applies to the strategy of building a brand with sounds and music that aligns perfectly with the brand attributes. This category is strongly related to brand understanding, which of course has evolved. In the 1960s, American Marketing Association formulated a definition according to which a brand was understood as, that's a quote, a brand, a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's good or service as distinct from those of other sellers. Contemporary definitions are more elaborate. Brand is understood as the combination of product, brand name, packaging, advertising, and accompanying distribution and pricing activities. At the same time, the definition indicates the array of diverse functions that a brand performs. A brand differentiates firms' offerings from those of competitors, provided distinctive functional and symbolic benefits to the consumer. In the second definition, I have emphasized formulations that de facto refer to the components that make up a brand, functional benefits related to the brand's rational elements, and symbolic benefits related primarily to emotional elements. They also indicate a fundamental change in the hierarchy of needs accompanying in purchase process. Philip Kotler, called the father of marketing as early as in the 1970s, cites the opinion of one of shoe manufacturers who bluntly says that people no longer buy shoes to keep their feet warm and dry, they buy them because of the way the shoes make them feel. Masculine, feminine, rugged, different, sophisticated, young, glamorous, in. Buying shoes has become an emotional experience. Our business is now selling excitement rather than shoes. The end of quote. The second strategy, audio marketing, means deliberate introduction of various types of auditory stimuli, for example, programmed music, to a place of sale in order to effectively influence consumer reactions and decisions. For example, the pace at which they move, the amount of time they spend in a given place, or the products they choose. Both sonic branding and audio marketing support modern marketing strategies such as sensory marketing, focus on acting on different senses of the recipients, or experience marketing, focus on building positive experiences. These strategies complement each other, creating a holistic concept of marketing communication referred to by Paul Fulberg as brand theater. In his view, sound stimuli play a huge role in creating brand theater and become a key tool in the creation of fully immersive brand experiences based on appropriate emotional responses. Martin Lindstrom, the precursor of the so-called sensory marketing and neuromarketing, writes explicitly that the path to emotion leads through sensory experience, and emotion is the most important force that pushes us to buy. Another researcher, Gordon Brunner, adds that appropriately structured music acts on the nervous system like a key on a lock, activating brain processes with corresponding emotional reactions. So, how can music, including Chopin's music, act on the consumer and be that metaphorical key to the lock? What psychological mechanisms make marketing strategies effective? The use of music in marketing strategy can be treated as a specific form of so-called pragmatic effect-oriented musical communication. So let's look at it through the prism of the social enhancement model of music proposed by Stephen Brown. It is a universal scheme which can be applied to the analysis of intentional actions undertaken in various cultural contexts. The author distinguishes three main types of processes, numbered 1, 2, and 3, that lead to the final outcome, which is the behavioral control, which is number 4. Stage 1 refers to the way musical communication is organized. A key role is played by the assumed functions of music, among which Brown distinguishes social political functions of music and economic industrial ones. The next two stages, the second and the third one, are closely related to the process of creating a given message, which obviously involves the issue of musical meaning and semantics. Communication is treated as a multi-level process of transmission of various types of meaning. At the lower level, called by the author directed stimulation, the sender uses music to evoke immediate effects in the area of attention, arousal, emotion, or mood. To achieve these goals, he uses so-called formulaic devices such as scale types, melody types, rhythm types, tempos, volumes, registers, and other elements that are characterized by clear communicative features and that allow for the effective transmission of intended meanings as well as the effective achievement of intentionally assumed effects. As Brown notes, quote, the existence of such formulas implies that there is a musical lexicon that is shared between the senders and receivers of musical communication within a culture, and that defines the borders of that communication. The end of quote. The second component is directed stimulation, directed associations, which involve such higher order elements as beliefs, attitudes, and ideologies. This is a process in which the sender uses musical devices to produce symbolic associations between musical structure and cultural objects. This process is similar to directed stimulation, but it occurs at a higher level of musical semantics. The starting point for the presented study is the assumption that music is a social phenomenon, so musical meanings are inseparable from the cultural and social contexts and circumstances in which they arise. This concept, widely accepted on the ground of musicological, sociological, and ethnomusicological studies, stresses the fact that music's meanings can only be explained by analysis of the processes and conditions that pertain to the context within which music is produced and received. Therefore, music is understood as culturally defined perceptual artifact existing in the mind of uncultured listeners. So, successful communication must involve shared implicit and explicit knowledge structures. The above characteristics lead to another feature, the ambiguity of music. As Jan Cross claimed, music has a sort of floating intentionality. It can be thought of as gathering meaning from the context within which it happens and, in turn, contributing meaning to those contexts. To understand the level of complexity of the audio marketing and sonic branding strategies, it's worth locating these issues in the context of hierarchical view of musical semantics by Stephen Brown. It shows that intricate network of relationships between the levels of musical hierarchy and widely understood semantic hierarchy, from the most basic to the most complex aspects. Since it is a hierarchical scheme, all elements on a higher level contain elements of a lower level. Thus, it can be assumed that basic structural features of music such as tempo, volume, timbre, or melodic contour, for example, may play a role in the formation of meaning on the higher level of hierarchically perceived musical semantics. Let us now look at the use of Chopin's music in the service of marketing. Of course, I will present only selected examples, which I will analyze through the prism of Brown's models and psychological mechanism used by the sender. We will focus on the piece of music Nocturne in E flat major, opus 9, number 2. So let's listen to the musical example. This recording comes from Chopin International Competition, but from the last edition, actually from 2015. I couldn't find the recording from this edition. Okay, so let's listen to it. Nocturnes, as you probably know, are usually described as songs of the night or piano bel canto. The genre of the piano nocturne was created by the Irish composer and pianist John Field, to whom Chopin referred. Chopin composed nocturnes over many years from 1827 to 1848. 18 nocturnes were published by the composers in the 8 opuses, and there are also 2 nocturnes not published by Chopin. Although nocturnes evolved in line with Chopin's style, they possess a number of constant features. A tuneful and ornamented melody with a left-hand accompaniment based on the flat or broken chords. This tunefulness and the rich ornamentation point to the vocal character of the melodic line, bringing to mind the bel canto Italian operatic style. Most of the nocturnes can be compared to the operatic da capo aria with ornamented reprise, in which the outer section are characterized by a lyricism and tunefulness, whereas the middle section brings a violent contrast, a dramatism, and animated action. The early nocturne in E-flat major, opus 9 number 2, can be regarded as the symbol of ornamented cantabile à la Chopin. What is interesting, it sounds not only during Chopin competition in concert halls in Poland, but you can hear it in quite surprising places, in Poland also. The first place on my list is taken by the Polish high-speed train Pendolino. Since 2014, that is, since Pendolino entered the Polish market, the beginning of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, opus 9 number 2, is played at every station. The passengers hear Chopin's music in an original version as soon as they board the train. It starts just after the announcement: if you don't have a valid ticket for your journey, you will be charged an additional fare. I suspect that probably if you come to Poland, you will experience this sound while traveling by train. But it is very interesting to analyze this case because if we look at this music through the prism of marketing strategy, we can say that the sender he uses actually 2 types of mechanism. The first one is directed stimulation, and the second one is directed accessory association. So if we start from directed stimulation, so we can say that this mechanism involves directly influencing the recipients, especially their level of arousal. So the sender assumes that through the characteristics of music, such as its slow and steady tempo, the recipient will adjust his or her physiological parameters to the music, and his or her level of arousal will decrease. At least in theory, this should result in a blissful state of relaxation and that a feeling of comfortable and safe travel should appear. But more on that later. The very choice of Chopin's Nocturne also indicates the directed association strategy. First of all, the sender uses the classical music genre. It arises from the right assumption that different musical genres can evoke different images of the brand, product, or place. It is confirmed by the results of scientific research carried out in the field of marketing, social psychology of music, and generally understood business-related scientific research. One of the most interesting conclusions drawn from experimental research is the fact that, for example, classical music evokes a sophisticated and upmarket image. Pop music evokes a fun and lively image, whereas, for example, easy listening music evokes a rather down-market and tacky, poor taste and quality image. What is more, on the cognitive and behavioral level, classical background music can lead to higher price estimates and can also influence customer spending because consumers decide to buy more expensive products. On the other hand, classical music can also work as a repellent, discouragement for less affluent customers. The effect of the upmarket stereotype of classical music is one of the examples of a psychological process which is known as knowledge activation effect. It is based on the fact that music, although is heard in a passive way, can activate superordinate knowledge structures which can mediate customers' purchase behavior. This process is based on the ability of music to prime certain thoughts and networks of associations which individuals have built up over their experience and which can be shared by large groups of people, what is especially effective in the cultures dominated by media. Chopin's Nocturne in Pendolino trains is thus meant to create the image of a premium Polish brand. At the same time, the piece, repeated over and over again, functions in the passenger's awareness as a jingle representing a brand. The second example I would like to present is Chopin Perfumes, launched in 2011 by the Polish brand Miraculum. As we read in the promotional materials of the brand, this unique collection of free fragrances combines the atmosphere of classical music with modern minimalism, where the strength of the fragrance is equal to the strength of the sound. I invite you to watch a short commercial. Yes, and in this case, the reference to Chopin is literal. It appears both in the verbal, audio, and visual layers. Chopin's Nocturne again becomes a constant element of the promotional campaign. What is more, you can observe high consistency in marketing communication. The visual layer is dominated by black, usually associated with classics and stability of certain canons. In marketing activities, it is usually used to emphasize uniqueness, elegance, and prestige. Again, the broadcaster builds a very consistent image of a Polish premium brand, which in a way is reflected in the rather high prices of individual products. So it is about almost 100 euros, maybe about 80 euros. Marketing materials available on the brand's website are also highly consistent. Specific slogans referring to the musical roots of the brand dominate. For example, Chopin, the symphony of sound and smell. Chopin perfume, the classics with a touch of modernity. Chopin perfume, elegant fragrances for every occasion. The promotional materials available in Polish state that it is an original fragrance inspired by the music of the greatest Polish composer. For years has been ranked among the premium class. Intensive and long-lasting, it is dedicated to strong and self-confident men who nurture their romantic character deep inside. In 2023, the Chopin perfume brand expanded its offer with a line of perfumes dedicated to women. As explained in the promotional materials, the Chopin brand opens another chapter in the history of its luxury fragrances with the launch of a collection for women, which is inspired by the muses of the eminent piano virtuoso Frédéric Chopin. The unique line of free fragrances was composed from carefully selected ingredients of the highest quality. Developed with precision and craftsmanship, it captures the unique personalities of the women who played important roles in the life of Frédéric Chopin: Maria Wodzińska, Konstancja Gładkowska, and Georges Sand. The famous Polish pop singer Natalia Kukulska became the ambassador. She was chosen for a reason. August 2020, she saw the release of her 13th studio album, Czułe Struny, Tender Strings, featuring compositions by Frédéric Chopin arranged for her voice. This time, the brand decided to use three intense colors in the visual layer. Red, reserved for the Georges Sand perfume, pink, linked to the Marie collection, and yellow for Constance. As experts in color psychology emphasize, these colors can evoke different associations. Red is a sign of attractiveness, sexual desire, arousal, and excitement. Yellow suggests associations with happiness, excitement, summer, and arousal. Pink means sophistication, charm, glamour, femininity, and calm. The music in the commercials was probably intended to emphasize these differences. The Georges Sand collection is accompanied by waltz in A minor, and the Constance perfume by modern instrumental music, probably inspired by Chopin. So as you could see and hear, the strategy has changed a little bit. However, in my opinion, this strategy is a little bit unpredictable. So because the brand is trying to change the music and they are trying to adjust it to the target group, I think. This is quite interesting that Miraculum perfumes are one of the products that got the license from the Frédéric Chopin Institute. As mentioned on the website called trademarkchopin.com, noticing the need for presence of name and image of Frédéric Chopin in the public space, building the positive associations with the figure of the composer and his output, and also underlining the connections between Frédéric Chopin and Poland, the Frédéric Chopin Institute created the possibility to use the protection laws belonging to it by granting the license. So what is interesting, among the products that have been legally licensed are not only perfumes, but also chocolates, cookies, coffee, porcelain, pens, clothes, furniture, watches, and even refrigerators. What interesting, it is estimated that Chopin is the most precious Polish brand worth about 3 billion Polish zloty. So it is not surprising that Chopin advertises not only the above mentioned products, but also the capital of Poland, Warsaw, and its important places, as well as national brand Poland, what was visible during this year's World Expo in Osaka in Japan. So there is no doubt that Chopin is similar to Mozart in Austria, I would say. So it is this symbol, this label, this trademark is used almost everywhere. And we can say that using Chopin's music means that the sender tries to create the image of a top-shelf Polish company. Irrespective of the evaluation of such actions, marketing effectiveness, some of you will undoubtedly experience various aesthetic and ethical concerns. Consumers are usually unaware that they are subjected to this kind of activities, among other things because of its hidden manipulative and persuasive function. The presence of background music in public places or even in commercials is so controversial. In this context, it is not surprising that some organizations fight for a ban on background music. It is quite popular in the UK, for example, in the 1990s. In UK, organization called Pipe Down launched a campaign for freedom from so-called pipe music or background music. The debate concerning the presence of Chopin's music in marketing campaigns turns up like a bad penny during the international Chopin piano competitions in 2015. A perfect example is, in this context, it is an article by Roman Pawłowski titled Pandolino or How to Ride the Chopin Horse to Death. I would like to finish my paper, my lecture, with this quite long quotation showing the attitude the attitude to the presence of Chopin's music in public space. A traveler going from Krakow to Gdynia, so from the south to north of Poland, will hear the nocturne in E flat major 12 times. If they are unlucky and travel to the seaside from Silesia, Chopin chords will attack them at 14 stops. After such a dose, the charming tunefulness and existing fluency or melody that critics rave about will evaporate. Even the most beautiful music becomes torture when you have to listen to it over and over again. In addition, Chopin on the Pendolino train serves as a background for a charming message about the high penalties for traveling without a valid ticket. Cascades of notes flow in the air, black and white keys flash in my imagination, and I nervously check whether I have brought the ticket printout with me. For the rest of my life, I will associate Chopin with the ticket control. I really hope that this wouldn't be the dominant association in the Polish society. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I'm waiting for your comments, for your questions, and I would like to show you the references, the selected reference, and I hope you will find it useful. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much for this brilliant presentation. Very new topic, absolutely new topic, and very relevant to our digital era and marketing century. So, if from audience, please, if you have some questions or comments, please.
Professor Basta, if I may.
Yes, of course, of course.
I would like
First of
also
all,
later.
thank you very, very much for the wonderful presentation. It's definitely a new topic that, well, I have like around 20 years in this profession in the artistic music, and in my experience, I didn't see or heard or read that someone is, you know, like treating this kind of problematic issue of classical music, especially related to economy too. So I want to congratulate you again. And it's so nice that I got a chance, we got a chance to listen and see your presentation through the Congress. What I wanted to ask, some of the information here, you know, it was a surprise to me, and I think to most of us. What I wanted to ask is about the economic impact those brands have while using, because you made a very good comparison with Mozart in Austria, but I never knew, you know, it's Chopin and of course it's Poland, but I never knew that brands, very popular brands there, started to use his music and his figure to sell their products, especially the perfumes. And I started immediately thinking that I should buy some perfumes and to give as a present to some of the pianists here, to my friends that play Chopin. Very yes.
But I'm not working for Miraculum perfumes, so you don't have to buy Miraculum perfumes.
Okay. This is,
Yeah.
but I wanted to know about the economic impact, because I don't know if the owner of the brand, he is a musician, I don't know, maybe, and this is how he related his business with Chopin and wanted to use his wealth, here economic stability, by selling something that has to do with music, with his profession or his passion. So why they did this, why it must be a reason, you know, besides the cultural impact and the, you know, there's nationalism, a good nationalism that we all have and we're supposed to have in our countries.
Yeah.
Is it a very big economic impact in Poland?
Yeah, I think that I can't answer this question because Chopin Institute, first of all, they have to pay for the license. So they have to, you know, buy the license for using this. But I think no one will show you. I'm not working for Miraculum Perfume, so I can't tell you how much money do they earn, you know, because they start to use this brand, this trademark. So I think it is something like a know-how of the company. So you can't see the numbers. What can you check? You can check, for example, how it works when you prepare, for example, the experiment. And what I can say, because I also prepared some experiments in Polish shops, and I know that it works. I mean that generally classical music works because people decide to buy you know, more expensive products. And even if you prepare, for example, if you carry out something like virtual experiment, that for example you give your customers or you give your respondents some virtual money, and they have, for example, the possibility to buy something, to choose the products from the list. If they hear classical music, they will choose you know, more expensive products. But what I want to say that first of all is the problem of ethics. Yeah, so if you start to, of course you can cooperate as a scientist, as a researcher with some companies to check what strategy works and so on. But generally for me, personally, it is always the question of ethics. So what can you do as a scientist? I'm not a, marketing researcher. I'm rather musicologist. So I really appreciate your comment that you made at the beginning of your question, because for me it was very difficult to persuade people in Poland that it is the topic for musicologists, because usually we think about background music as something like taboo listening, or music that it's not worth doing the research. So,
Yes.
but I think it's a very important topic, not only in Poland, but I would say that everywhere actually, when background music is implemented in for example in shopping areas, because all of us are customers. So, for example, I'm trying to persuade my students, for example, to listen to the commercial environment, because if you start to draw your attention to the environment, to acoustical environment, if you are more conscious, you can also maybe stop the way of manipulation, because for me it's a general, although I'm talking about it maybe in quite an objective way. For me personally, it's always the question of ethics. But we can also say that generally in sensory marketing, you use different senses. It is the same with aroma marketing. For example, in Poland, it is very popular that when you go to the clothes shop, you can also smell this. You can also, there is not only sound but also smell.
Yes.
Vision is quite, I would say, obvious. Yeah, that you go somewhere and you can see the colors, you can see the right light, for example. But there is always the question of other senses. I can see many hands up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will leave in few seconds. What I wanted to, well, let me first introduce. I'm a musicologist too. I'm from the University of Pristina. My name is Reza. Very soon on March, I will be in Poland, in Warsaw.
Oh, great.
And I will probably write you. And if you have time and a chance, we should probably meet too. But you made me think to start and deepen this research and also work on the economic impact, so we could give another overview of the impact that classical music
Yes.
have also in nowadays, to sensibilize to some countries that they are not used still with the classical music. They don't know it really much. And also to see that how powerful is, just not to listen it in the background,
Yes.
but also the economic impact that possibly it can have, composer or music itself, this genre itself. So thank you very much. It
You're
was
welcome.
a pleasure to listen.
So see you in Warsaw.
Yes, see you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I see hands. Dear Bessa, dear Frat, who will start? Who's first?
Well, as a Chopin festival organizer, maybe I will start. Thank you very much. It was a really interesting presentation. I liked it very much, especially because I was in the Warsaw now for the competition and for General Assembly of the Chopin Societies, and I experienced myself that entire Warsaw was Chopin branded. And what I liked actually, because we were discussing this also with colleagues at the International Federation of Chopin Societies. In the last General Assembly last year when we met, Actually, I suggested them to use more the social media, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all this, because in the past they were using only the magazine and emails. And if we want to, how to say, get the attention of the young audiences,
Yeah.
we need to go where they are going. So it's TikTok, Instagram,
Yeah.
social media. But I'm talking about music itself. And I saw all these brands and I bought actually lots of commodities, shopping bag and shopping water bottle and shopping magnets, everything I could
Yes,
in order
yes.
also to give to the friends.
Mhm.
We, as Reza said, have this festival in May, the Chopin Piano Fest Pristina. We also treat it as a brand. We have taken care a lot for the image, but also when we do the animation of the festival, of course, it's always have to be Chopin music because the attention needs to be taken by music and by image. And this brand, let's say, works a lot. The brand
Yeah.
itself works a lot, and there is a lot of research that has been done also on music background for learning. So we should look up to that. What music do children?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also, you know, the question if they should listen to music, because I'm not so optimistic when it comes to listening to music when you learn. Um, because generally music attracts your attention, so
Exactly.
it has to be, you know,
Mhm.
analyzed by your mind. So some
Yes,
part of your mind is occupied by music.
yes. And for
So
example, now it is being used a lot also in medicine when
mhm,
they are doing operations
yes,
or dentist work, especially very relaxed. And Chopin, I think, remains one of the favorite
mhm,
because it is really a kind of very relaxed music. Of course, Chopin has lots of works, but I'm talking about the nocturnals, about the miniatures, that about the type of music that they can be used in such processes. For example, doctors for operation or dentists during their work. It is very powerful, and
yeah.
I have seen it also in practice. So thank you very much for this wonderful research, and as Reza said, inspiring us to do a little bit more with Chopin music also on the Kosovo audience here.
Great. Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
thank you very much
and
for your
welcome
comments.
in
Hmm.
May.
Uh, Now, please, thank you for your question. Dear Pratt, we're listening you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for your the speech. It was really interesting. I have loads of questions. So I'm going to try to at least organize it as much as I can. So uh, actually, in your speech, I don't know whether you passed or you just skipped it for the time concerns or any other reasons. But so as we know that current theories of musical emotion emphasize that music can induce, feelings through multiple mechanisms, from physiological arousal to learned associations. Especially Jocelyn's, Brekwema,
Yes, of course.
BRUC, VEMA. And so, what do you think about the potential mechanisms that influenced your conclusions or your interpretations? Because, as we know, emotional contagion is also another important mechanism. Moreover, evaluative conditioning. For example, for the association between Chopin and luxury brands, that directly reminded me to the evaluative conditioning, especially when we think through perspective of Western society. Therefore, I think, do you think whether the Chopin and the marketing association is a limited association, or should musicology researchers focus on how, let's say, an unknown song could increase the sensory marketing? As we know, in 2024, as far as I remember, it was in the Acta Psychologica journal, Fernham and McClelland. Yeah, as far as their findings show that happy versus sad music, for example, sad melancholic music produced higher brand recognition. Whereas, interestingly, happy music led to higher purchase intentions. And moreover, sad background music also yielded slightly better recall of ad content than happy music, which is really interesting, or also align some of your interpretations, such as maybe emotive Chopin nocturne might cement a brand in memory, while an upbeat waltz could nudge consumers toward action, depending on the marketer's goal, actually. In addition to that, for instance, the project, I don't know whether you know or not, ABCDJ project by European Union, on the Horizon project. I also worked at that because my supervisor, Professor Hauke Egerman, Wolfgang Hauke Egerman, and Stefan Kölsch, were the researcher of that project, and I was a student of them, and then their PhD student, and then I also was very familiar with the project. And the thing is, for example, especially the question is, in branding is a classical music in branding is a form of cultural narrative. They especially emphasized the project team, especially emphasized these association with the classical music. If we think the Chopin music through the Western classical nexus. So my question, especially, what do you think about these aligning or contrary or deepening other findings by the other researchers? Moreover, what do you think, for example, through the neuroscience and personalization? Because in ABCDJ project, we also found that unknown songs, but melancholic and sad, emotionally intense unknown songs inducted really strong associations with the brand and the other things, recall and the other things. So how might real time, for example, adaptive musical marketing enhance effectiveness, and what does it mean for consumer autonomy for you? This is my first question. And the second question is, so as we know, through the cultural context, Chopin's music carries national significance in Poland, especially, but the international audiences respond similarly. Is for me is very interesting question. Just anecdote. One of Chopin's nocturne, C sharp minor, the very famous nocturne, in Turkey, used one of very how can I say, action TV series, which is for me one of the one of the brutal TV series that broadcasted in Turkish TV history. They used in one scene, they used Chopin, and interestingly, it created abnormal kind of emotional contagion and recall of Chopin. And according to Spotify and some live streaming music platforms, after that episode in Turkey, Chopin listening rates increased abnormally. So, how might a Chopin nocturne in a Tokyo boutique or New York ad be perceived differently? In a globalized market, can Chopin's, for you, emotional power transcend cultural boundaries, or do marketers need specific, culturally specific musical strategies? What is your opinion? And again, thank you. It was really thought-provoking and fascinating speech.
Thank you. A lot of plots, a lot of comments. What can I say? I wrote an article about Bretsfema model and audio marketing. So it is in English. So I also had many papers about Bretsfema model and about music and emotions. When it comes to marketing strategy, and of course, as you probably know, this model shows different mechanism how music can induce emotions in the listeners. So the first letters, they show B, R and E. They show generally the most automatic, let's say, mechanisms such as rhythmic entrainment. So it means that, for example, when you listen to music, or even if you hear music, you adjust your physiological parameters to the parameters of music. And of course, this kind of mechanism works in shopping malls. For example, when you hear and generally senders, I mean the owner of the shop, they can manage the flow of the customer using this mechanism. So you said also about evaluative conditioning, and I think that evaluative conditioning, for me, it's a little bit less complicated than, for example, episodic memory. So all of those mechanisms are quite important in marketing strategy in Chopin. I think that every mechanism is very important. So when I look at Bretsfema model, I could find actually every mechanism in audio marketing strategy, even B letter, which is for brainstem reflex. So it is very automatic reaction. So for example, when you hear loud music in the clothes shop, and it is too loud for you, you will just escape from this shop. Yeah, so it is this brainstem reflex. When we think about Chopin, I'm also thinking about a very interesting project that was prepared a few years ago. It was prepared by Polish composer Ryszard Kapuściński, and the name of it is Where is Chopin? And generally, this project shows the people from all over the world who are in different places, for example, in Asia, in I don't know, in the United States, in Europe, in different countries, and it shows their reaction to Chopin music. So we can say that Chopin music is very emotional. So if we think about, for example, emotional contagion, yes, I think this mechanism also works. So, for example, it means that when you listen to sad music, you will feel sad, for example, and if you feel happy, if you listen to happy music, you will feel happy. But generally, this project called Where is Chopin shows that Chopin music is so universal because it is so emotional. So for me, Chopin music can be used in different brands, not only Polish brands, but of course, as you said, Chopin is a national Polish brand. So it is, for me, it's quite obvious that Polish brands are trying to adjust to build this association between Chopin trademark and their brand. But for example, I didn't have actually time to show every examples, but of course there are a lot of examples of commercials that, for example, use Chopin music. For example, there is a quite famous commercial of ketchup. And Ed Sheeran also plays a main role in this commercial, and there is Chopin music as a background, showing, the luxury, let's say, again, showing the luxurious place, the luxurious restaurant, and showing that products such as ketchup can be used in such a restaurant, yeah, which is very luxurious. So generally, it is a good, I would say that Chopin music, which is very well known, it is a very good, for me, it's a very good background music. Of course, there are a lot of experiments, a lot of researchers who are interested in sonic branding, in audio marketing. For example, I personally cooperate with Daniel Müllensiefen, who also who works at the Goldsmith University in London, and now he's working at the University of Hamburg. So I know that there are a lot of experiments. So I'm not I wrote a book generally about the sonic branding and audio marketing. So I know that there are a lot of research. There is a lot of research, and there are a lot of researchers who are interested in this topic. And for me, it is very interesting to look at it. So I generally I don't know, I'm not even able to find every article. So I even don't know the research that you were talking about. But I'm really interested in it. So thank you very much for your for your comment, for your. It would be very interesting for me to look at it. But what I want to say is that for me, when I started to work on this topic, for me it was very, I would say that no musicologists were actually involved in the research. So for me, when I was, for example, analyzing the research that were prepared, for example, that were carried out, for example, by psychologists, for me it wasn't enough, I would say. So I think. Uh, um, uh, when I'm looking at the research, I always trying to look at the research which is prepared by interdisciplinary team. So I think that in each team there should be a musicologist, there should be a psychologist, and also I don't know, neurophysiologists, whatever we want to, whatever we want to measure. Um, and generally, the big problem, of course, as I said before, is the problem of ethics. Because if you want to, of course, you can prepare some experiments in natural conditions, but there is always a question if you can do this. Yeah, and each research now has to be accepted by the ethics committee, and I think it's quite it's not so easy to get such agree yeah
Consent.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
yeah,
yeah
yeah.
yeah because
Yeah.
it's not 60s or 70s, I mean 20th century when for example Zimbardo carried out their his experiments, and now everywhere when you are when we are talking about audio marketing or about sonic branding, there is always the case of ethics. I'm not sure if I answer all of your questions, but I was trying to look at it, just make an overview.
Yeah.
Uh, but I generally thank you for your comment.
You're very welcome. So yeah, it was as I said, like for me, especially when I came back to the Turkey. The thing is for me, as Darwin quoted, if we find the mechanisms why music induce emotions, probably we will find the biggest key of human evolution, as Darwin quoted. Because for me, not only for sensory marketing or audio branding or the existence of music is solely based on the for me it's emotion induction power,
Of course.
which is which is for me the biggest unsolved puzzle of humankind.
Yeah.
Just a quick addition and also question. As you know, Jocelyn, the separated everyday emotions and aesthetic emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there is a relation between or there is a positive correlation between luxury brand, aesthetic emotions, and Chopin? As we know, as we know that especially in most of the Western society, the Western classical music also represents elitist upper class um, um, separation. Do you think that there is a positive correlation, aesthetic emotions,
Mm.
luxury brand, and Chopin?
Yeah, there is something with stereotype, I would say, and when we are talking about stereotypes, it is usually the question about, high cognitive reactions. So I suppose there is something between, as you said, but I would like, but I'm not sure if. Because what can we say? What can we check? We can check the declarations, yeah. So we can, I don't know, use the self-report method to check if there are any correlations between the perception of classical music and the perception of luxurious brand. But I think that the probably more answers we will get if we, I don't know, use some neuro methods. So probably we would find more accurate answers to your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can presume, yeah, that probably there is a quite a correlation, and of course there is always the question how classical music is perceived culturally. So of course, as you said, when we are thinking about, the division into some classes, it is quite typical that, for example, it's sometimes it is not the question concerning the musical preference, but it is the question that it's, for example, for white collar workers, for example, it's good to show in the Philharmony. So it's the question of the class, the question of where they would like to be if they are quite, I would say, ambitious persons. So we could observe it during, for example, Chopin competition that you couldn't buy tickets because I would say people from business they just participated in the concerts because the tickets were quite expensive, and they generally it wasn't so easy to get the tickets. But what I want to say to sum up, for me, yeah, it would be very interesting to check if there is the correlation, but I suppose there is, yeah. So we can, of course, hypothesize. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Sylwia.
Thank you, Firat. Mm-hmm. Gwanza microphone.
Okay, so your presentation was so interesting that we do not let you leave us, and we have too many questions. Also, I have a short two questions and a little comment about Frad's discussion. Last year when we had the Rast Congress, Frad has article about emotions. I don't remember the title, but he's working in this sphere, how emotions, so emotions as sign, so symbolic signs, and so I'm not specialist in emotions as signs and not in rhetoric figures or rhetoric signs of Baroque epoch. I'm just a customer here. And well, last time I visited Poland during your conference, I had very few money with me, and I bought some pencils with a Chopin image, and also I saw a little museum with Zdzisław Beksiński's images, and I'm keen on Beksiński. I cannot even I have here in Beksiński. So I bought what I have. I bought cards. I bought pictures. Unfortunately, I had much money to buy a book with his illustrations. Unfortunately, if I had, I would buy. So I wanted to say that our emotions are are motivated by love. First of all, we I'm talking about customer, casual customer. So first of all, we feel love to this specific artist, Chopin or Bekzinski, never mind. So we love, and that's why we have emotions. That's why sometimes we do not eat, buy food, and buy some bags or cards or pencils or even rubbers with their images. And I do not know how neuroscience will explain it, but first of all, everything is starting with love that leads our emotions. And my question was about, besides shopping, how you think, which composers might be used in similar ways in Poland?
I have no answer. Of course, mm, I'm thinking about other composers so that are,
Yes,
for
yes.
example, but it's not so easy. It's not easy to find the answer. Um, but I think that love, if I can comment, in marketing, everything is about the need, and
Yeah.
about the needs and about the desire. So if the role of the marketing is to show you that you say that you have this need, and if you don't have it, they will push you to have it.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's the way of manipulation, I would say. But I think that Chopin is very. It's very, say, emblematic, typical for our country. So probably there is no answer. Although I know that there are young composers who are, because generally there is a big creative sector in Poland, and young composers, for example, they are preparing music for commercial, for social campaigns, and it's quite, I would say, well developed. So no, because of course there is a big problem of artificial intelligence, not only in Poland but everywhere. And for example, in some places in Poland, they use music which is created by artificial intelligence, and it happens. All the I could hear it, yeah. So I know that it happens, but if you for example use I'm thinking about the sender. If you prepare a marketing campaign, and if you want to to use this directed association, if you want to use the memories or episodic memory, you have to use original music, yeah, because it has this big association, big context. So there's always question, what is the aim of the sender, for me personally. And I want to say to Firat, because we were talking about audio marketing, about sonic branding, but of course there is a big issue of music therapy, of this music and well-being. So also these topics are very crucial for me, and very important. Now I started the positive psychology, studies. For me, I'm really fascinated with this field in psychology.
Yeah. So actually, Gwanza tried to explain, but I was a lecturer, and also I did my PhD at University of York, and then I was also a pathway leader of York Music Psychology group as well. So my my research area is to try to understand, especially music emotion induction through the music theoretical perspective, because I graduated from the composition and music theory department. Therefore, I am taking a different way. I am trying to delve into the you know that humankind is multifaceted, and interestingly, music is multifaceted, and environment is multifaceted. Therefore, it is really, how can I say, very, very, very difficult area to study research or conduct research in terms when you look through this multifaceted, polymultifaceted consequences. As you said, well-being, music therapy, and as you know, especially musicians joined the music psychological research area since 1960s. Before it was the under the psychologist domination, but it created really a good joint power in terms of interpreting the findings. I just want to about the well-being and the sadness. So last year, I am now an assistant professor at one of southeastern region of Turkey, which is very well known, and it's also a UNESCO music city, which is very well known about his the still known about specific traditional music, makam music, and it has a multicultural Kurdish music, Turkish music, Persian music, and Jewish music, as well as other traditions, Levanten music, and it is the city is the first place, according to historical papers. It is the first place the church hymns in a Syriac church. It is the first city the church hymns has been sung by the pastors and the Syriac believers. Anyway, last year I had a 1 year break due to my illness. Last year we had an experimental experiment, especially for the emotion induction of polyphonic choir music. So what we did, I established a choir with my students, but my point was to use standard Western polyphonization, 4-part harmony, but I just created with the not a major minor music syntax, but with the Turkish makam music, and then I tried to I finished the rearrangement of choirs, and then we announced a concert for the with the participation of the municipality and their support. People came to the church, St. Paul Church in here, and then we just performed 5 pieces, but one of them was Ave Verum Corpus from Mozart, and then 3 of them was the one of them was an Armenian melody, one of them was the Turkish melody, and then one of them was the Kurdish melody. we implemented cameras to the church, and then we tried to capture the reflexes, especially through the pieces. Interestingly, and the city, the society in my city is very foreign about the polyphonic music. Interestingly, in Armenian, with the Armenian lyrics, but very close melodic type, but within a polyphonic texture, and people start to cry. We now have some footages, which is interestingly, if I recover well, I will try to rearrange and then publish as early as I can. And for me, the thing is, as you know, from well-being to therapy, from a emotion induction perspective to the perception, it's music has really multifaceted and uncontrollable aspects, dimensions, which makes which prevents us to make clear conclusions about what makes or what influence what on what. So therefore, I really when I see someone or colleagues like you study or research on the emotion, I respect really from my heart, because it's really, really, really a big ocean for me. And as I said, you just really brought a very different and very good color to the conference. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, thank you. It sounds very interesting for me, and yeah, I totally agree with you. It's the ocean. Yeah, yeah. You never know what will happen. Actually, we have individual experiences, individual backgrounds. There is our individual memory, collective memory. So everything, of course, works. Yeah, I totally agree. And I wish you a lot of health.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sylwia.
Welcome. It was really
Thank
good to
you.
meet you.
Thank you for this discussion. In one short question,
Yeah.
dear Sylwia, you mentioned the Mozart case, and also marketing has its flaws, of course. But do you think that, it's a little question, do you think that using, for example, Chopin's or Mozart's music in commercial settings risks trivializing national heritage? Or does it help keep it alive in contemporary culture? So two positions.
Yeah, but I've never made such comparison between Austria and Poland. So it's just when you travel to Austria, you can notice some things. But I've never I generally was focused on I'm focused on Polish brands. So
Yes.
yeah.
So, because in Austria, everywhere is Mozart. Rubbers, pencils, bags,
Yeah.
how to say, cups, jugs, plates, everything.
I
So,
think that it is even more advanced because they started earlier. So Poland is, of course, is the post-communist country. The National Chopin Institute was launched in 2010, I think. So it's not, an old institution. Previously, the label Chopin was licensed by Chopin Society, but I'm not sure what's the history of this brand before 2010, as I said, 2010. Yeah. So I think that Mozart brand is even more. It's older, yeah, and it's more advanced.
Thank you very much. And very emotional was it. It was also a marketing trick, but very emotional was when first Nana Sharikadze showed me the chair near the church with the button that plays Chopin music.
Yeah.
The chair,
Yes.
yeah, it was amazing, and I met it first time in my life. Chair with button, and you're pressing and you listen to Chopin. This is great marketing trick also.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Chopin benches, yeah, Chopin benches.
Chopin, yes, so yes, bench,
Yeah,
near the chair, yes. It was amazing because first time in my life I sat on the bench, press the button, and listen to amazing music of Chopin. So thank you very much for your brilliant presentation, for the discussion, and and sorry for we could not find the time limit for you. So it was so interesting that our lesson was prolonged.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you once
Thank you
again.
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we have final conclusions.
Yes, closing speech.